One of the most common questions I get as a financial advisor among my younger clients is how much money should I contribute to a traditional IRA or 401k, and how much should I contribute to a Roth 401k or IRA? I would suggest working with a financial advisor for the exact math about this, but I have a few thoughts that I go through as a financial advisor when I receive this question. So, what are the times where people should just put more money in a traditional over a Roth? Stay with me. So, just to bring everyone up to speed, traditional IRA or 401k accounts, you receive a tax deduction for the year that you make the contribution, and all of the money and the growth on the money is taxable when you take those funds out in the future. 59 and a half is the magic age where you can withdraw that money without penalty, but you will still have to pay taxes on that money. The Roth account was actually started in 1998, so it didn't start at the same time as the traditional provision, which started in the 1970s. But essentially it says you can contribute your money after tax, so you pay the taxes this year, and the money and all the growth on the money will be tax-free upon redemption of that money. Once again, 59 and a half is the magic age to get that money out of the Roth IRA without penalty. However, there are certain provisions where you can go in and take money out of the Roth before 59 and a half, but that is a little bit more complicated, and I would work with a financial advisor on that provision. So when I'm working with a client and I'm determining whether they should contribute to a Roth or traditional account, there's actually several things that financial advisors look at. And sometimes it honestly makes more sense to contribute to a traditional account than to a Roth, maybe just for that year. But here are the things that tell me that a person should make more contributions to a traditional account over a Roth. So first things first, you have a 401k program at your job, but there is no Roth provision. There are some 401k plans, I would say probably in the ballpark of 20 to 30% of 401k plans that I encounter for clients that do not have a Roth provision. It may be that the company started the program and didn't activate a Roth provision, they didn't want a Roth provision. It's becoming less and less common, but there is a sizable percentage of retirement plans out there, whether they be 401ks, 403bs, 457s, that do not have a Roth provision. And if you have a company that has a 401k plan without a Roth provision, then go ahead and use the company's 401k and just contribute to the traditional portion. I have had a few situations where several years later the Roth provision came online, like the company activated the Roth provision. But oftentimes, if a company only has a traditional provision, they made an intentional choice only to have a traditional 401k, 403b, or 457. So second things is, if you're going to be in a really tough tax situation for this year for yourself or your family, and you're going to pay a lot in taxes. I've had a couple of years where taxes have been pretty high for myself due to various things going on, and I've made a very conscious choice to contribute to my traditional 401k plan for these several years. Well, why is that? I really need these tax breaks for the next 3 to 5 years while I experience this tax situation that's going to take 3 to 5 years to work through. So if a client is experiencing a really difficult tax situation, or I may have a conversation with them and say, look, just for this year or for the next 2 years, I want you to do a traditional 401k, 403b, 457 contribution, because it'll help you out in terms of a deduction for taxes for this year. This is a very unusual situation, and sometimes it makes sense to do this through other solutions. But I have clients who have charitable intent in retirement, and they will receive a match from their company, so they don't want to leave the match on the table. So usually these clients are pretty well off because they really don't need the 401k, but they want that match that their company is giving them. So they may contribute up to that match, whether it's 6%, they do 6%, but they're going to do a charitable contribution with that money, and they already know that they don't need the money for the broader retirement picture. It could make sense to make a contribution to a 401k account, traditional 401k account. This is a very rare set of circumstances. I've seen it maybe 5 times in my career, but I do have clients who are very charitably inclined. In qualified charitable distributions, they have money sitting in a 401k. They don't want to pass up that company match. And so they do up to the company match in a traditional 401k account, but knowing that when they reach full retirement age, by definition 73 for the retirement account, they're going to do qualified charitable distributions with that money. That could be a situation where it makes sense to do a traditional IRA, 401k, or 403b contribution. Next, this one sometimes is a little bit hard to predict, especially when you are young, but you absolutely 100% know that you will be at a much lower tax rate when you retire. This could be for a multitude of reasons. We've run the numbers. It's pretty hard to be able to tell this 30 years out from retirement. I can usually tell 10 years in closing in retirement whether the person is going to be in a lower tax bracket. But once you have designated that you are going to be in a much lower tax bracket than you are in your working career, it could make sense to make those contributions to a traditional account, because you're going to be taking taxes out at a much lower tax rate than you receive the tax benefit in putting the money in the account. So it takes some planning, takes some work with an accountant to figure this out. But if you're going to be at a much lower tax rate, it could be worth a conversation with a financial advisor to tell whether it makes sense to make those contributions to a traditional retirement account. So let's say for whatever reason your workplace doesn't have a 401k account, and I do have clients who workplace doesn't have a 401k account. They're using an IRA, and there's various issues with the IRA, namely that the amount is so low. If you're under 50, the amount you contribute is $7,000 a year, which often isn't nearly enough for a steady retirement. If you're in that situation, oftentimes clients max out of being able to contribute to a Roth IRA. And there's a complex calculation whether you're single or married or head of household or this or that. But at a certain income level, you do tap out of being able to contribute to a Roth IRA, and you must make your contributions to a traditional IRA. So in that case, if you are tapped out or you earn too much money and cannot contribute to the Roth IRA, definitely contribute that $7,000 to the traditional IRA. You are coming up, you know, at a certain point in the future, you're going to have a very low earning year, and you can convert your traditional IRA to a Roth IRA at that point in time. I have clients who know that they are going to do a sabbatical. Maybe they're going to retire extra early and just have no income for a few years. And we have a plan that during those years of very, very low income earnings, we're going to convert, while they're at a very low tax bracket, part of the traditional account to the Roth account. It does require some planning. It does require an accountant and a financial advisor, but I've seen this strategy work really successfully for high income earners who really don't have any other chance to convert their 401k to Roth status except during years where they're not working on sabbatical, or they have years where they're just low income. So that's an opportunity where you can contribute to a traditional account, receive the full tax benefit when you're at a high tax bracket, and then convert that at a point in time when you were at a much lower tax bracket. So basically, contributing to a traditional makes sense when you plan to convert that when you're at a much lower earning point in your life and career. Your company will only match your traditional money. Now, I've only seen this a handful of times, but a few of my clients have a 401k plan at their job with really strange provision that they can only match in the traditional account. In that case, you're going to contribute in the traditional account up to the match, and then above and beyond that, you can contribute to the Roth. Once again, it's very rare. I've seen this a handful of times, but you want to make sure that if you're going to do 100% Roth contribution, that the company can match you in that Roth contribution. Now, they won't match you in the Roth account. They'll probably match you in a traditional account. But it's an important question to ask, because I have seen it where companies do not match in the Roth account for whatever reason, and that person just missed out on their 6%. So if your company will not match you in the Roth, you're going to make a contribution in the traditional, of course, up to the match, and then above and beyond that, you can decide to contribute to the Roth. This is a big one. I know some people who have nothing in a traditional IRA account. Everything is in Roth. And this requires some work with a financial advisor and accountant, but it usually makes sense to have some money in a traditional account, because you can feng shui that, or you can design that, where certain years you take more money out of the traditional account, certain years you take more money out of the Roth account, and you may have to pay very, very little or nothing on the money that you take out of the traditional account. So you receive a tax benefit for putting that money in, but if you design things properly and you play your cards right, you can take that money out at retirement tax-free. Now, this is usually before the client starts receiving Social Security or a pension, because your income has to be pretty low. And we have to be very assured that the client is going to have some very low income years. So typically this happens when people retire a little bit early, but before they start taking Social Security and pensions. It requires some work with a financial advisor and an accountant to design this, but it really can work to your favor to have at least some money in a traditional account. So there you have it. Times where it actually makes sense to have contributions go to a traditional IRA, 401k, 403b, or 457 over putting that money in a Roth. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. If you found this information useful, please like, share, and subscribe.